Hey everybody, this is Jonathan McMillan with Be Better Than Average, and I'm coming at you today. As promised, I told a lot of people I presented my presentation that I'm about to share. I presented this about a week and a half ago at the My Brother's Keeper Summit in Denver. The title of the presentation is called 10 Things That Young Men of Color Must Know in Order to Thrive. Uh, I had a really good reception. Everybody seemed to be really engaged when I presented this information, and unfortunately, we ran out of time. And I promised that I would share the slideshow, and so that's my intention is to share the slideshow. But I also wanted to just give you a little bit of my insight so that you can also know the thinking behind the process of putting this together, putting this list together. So I'm going to go over some of the information that we went over that day in the workshop, not last Saturday, Saturday before last. And so some of it will be familiar to you. And then, of course, we'll get into the part of the presentation that we weren't able to cover because, again, we ran out of time. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up the presentation here. And give me just a few moments. And here we go. So everybody should see on their screen 10 things every young man of color must know in order to thrive. And again, of course, that's the name of this presentation. And of course, as I had mentioned before, this was a presentation that I came up with because, quite simply, I saw that our young men weren't they were living in this survival mode. Um, and I just knew that it was a time, and it was no better time than the present to present this information so that we can start seeing more success stories, basically. My name again is Jonathan McMillan. I'm a success skills strategist and personal development trainer. I am the founder and director of Be Better Than Average LLC, which is a success skills and personal development training company. The information is universal, but of course, I'm passionate about giving my people, and when I say my people, the disenfranchised, the ones who are underprivileged sometimes and at risk, giving them the skill set that they need in order to be successful. You can reach me at Twitter at BTA underscore Jonathan. You can reach me on Facebook / Be Better Than Average without the E at the end. I'm also available. You can reach me through email, and just simply Jonathan M at BEBTA.org. A little bit about my story before I get into this. As I shared with you, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I grew up in a era where young black men were considered to be an endangered species. And that being the case, we were told by many people who we came to trust and respect. I mean, our parents, our elders, our clergy, our teachers, community leaders, that as a young black man, our destinies, if we graduated from college, meant that we were more likely to go to prison than college. We were more likely to die before the age of 25. And quite frankly, we are going to have a bunch of babies that we weren't going to be around for. And with that destiny presented to us as if it was inevitable, that led to what I call a paradigm of hopelessness. And that hopelessness led to a lot of recklessness because we had no direction, we had no motivation, we have no drive in order to achieve anything greater than what we were told we were inevitably going to accomplish or not accomplish, and that recklessness led right back into the self-fulfilling prophecy of many of us not graduating, and if we did graduate, not going to college, or rather going to prison or going to the graveyard. And of course, like I said, having a bunch of babies that we weren't around to be fathers to. um, so being the case that I found myself as being one of those people who ended up in prison at a relatively young age, as I was 25 years old. It was there that I just kind of had that epiphany that if there was a system that uh, led to me being in prison, then there had to be a yin to the yang, and a system that not only gets people out of prison but keeps people out of prison, that where they never end up going in the first place. And so I began to study success skills. I began to study the successful leaders and people who wrote books on personal development. And one of the things I learned very early on was that in order to be successful, you have to have two things. First off, you need to have a goal that wakes you up every morning, and it's the last thing that you think about every night, and it becomes your purpose. And the second thing that you need to have is a mindset that tells you that convinces you that you're capable of achieving those goals. And from there on, that's how Be Better Than Average was born. There's a lot of things in between that epiphany and the company being formed to where we are today, but that's the nutshell of it. So one of the things I'm really passionate about is developing that mindset for young people to understand that they are capable of being successful. And it leads me right into, when you ask the typical young man of color, especially young black man or young brown man, how they're doing, these are the answers that you get: trying to make it, just trying to survive, keeping my head above water. And I literally never hear those answers from any other race. Now, excuse me, my slides seem to be a little bit off. Typically, this is when I would ask, in the workshop, I would ask the participants to introduce themselves. If you're watching this live, please feel free to leave your name, your occupation, and what your expectations are of this presentation. If you're not watching live and you're watching this on a replay, feel free to reach out to me and tell me what you enjoyed about this presentation, and where I can improve, or what you were able to take away from this, and how maybe we can collaborate. But like I said, I literally never hear those phrases from any other race. Trying to make it, just trying to survive, keeping my head above water, and never hear that from any other race or sex. And it's just very unfortunate that this is the baseline where our young men of color are operating. If you look at the word survive, it means to continue to live or exist, especially in spite of danger or hardship. Now, in 2016, there really is nowhere in the United States of America where somebody has to fight to survive. I always laugh and joke that even if you're homeless on the streets, you can still get a sandwich with condiments on it. There's plenty of places and organizations where they will give you a sandwich, even if it's just your city or county jail. You're guaranteed to have at least one meal, and usually that meal comes with some kind of mustard packet. So surviving in America is not that difficult, and it's a shame that our young men are operating under the belief that that's where they should be operating. That's where they should be functioning. It's just at survival level, instead of thriving, as in growing or developing well or vigorously. Uh, in other words, that unfortunately our young men don't use to describe their state of being as flourishing, prospering, burgeoning, blooming, blossoming, doing well, advancing, succeeding. These are terms that are synonymous with almost anybody else who has some type of direction in their life, who hasn't fallen victim to that hopelessness. So with that, I would like to point out that current defeatist ideology destroys many of our young black men or young brown men, because again they have that hopeless paradigm which leads to recklessness, which leads them right into the prisons and into the graveyards, which uh, again we are, my ultimate goal is to keep them out of. Now, so today, for this purposes, I want to identify very quickly the 10 things that our young men must know in order to thrive. Hopefully, well, what I'll do is just discuss them a little bit and what the rationale was for me choosing these things, and present them to you so that you can put them into your program or into your relationships, even if you're a parent or if you're a guardian or you're someone who looks over these young men, so you can uh, put these concepts and these directions into the lives of the and the relationships into the organizations that you have with these young men. Typically, to go over some ground rules. I always want to keep my conversations solution oriented. Always like to speak to be understood and listen to be to understand. So if you have any questions, again, please feel free to hit me up. I understand that this is live and you're not watching live. It may be difficult, but please feel free to reach out to me. Uh, Participation is always encouraged, appreciate it. Keep it real, be honest. Always say this is a mandatory for any workshop because it's necessary, and be as open as you're comfortable. And sometimes I know that uh, in these group settings, well, in typical group settings, it can sometimes be intimidating to express an opinion, but I always want to create a safe place for opinions to be expressed. And then lastly, respect. And respect looks like a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I'd like to define that as judging not, least you be judged. To use your words with conscious intent, meaning that you're very aware about what you're saying and how that may make somebody else feel. Um, Although I don't want you to censor yourself to spare somebody else's feelings. Just understand that your words do have consequences. Speaking I statements, I feel you're not listening to me, or I think it's a such and such, instead of blanket statements as in all white people, or the system is out to get us. You have to, I please ask people to frame that with I feel as if, and then continue on. And then lastly, always assume positive intent. I know sometimes I could say things, and this very workshop may have things in it that may offend you. Understand that I didn't put this workshop together to offend anybody, and I only put this together to help. So if you find yourself offended, understand that that was not my intent, and I'll be happy again to discuss whatever it is that you found offensive. So the very first thing that your young man of color must know in order to thrive is the power of I am. I call these the two most powerful words that anyone can say. What does that mean? Is literally a phrase that speaks to the inner God inside of you. So, and I don't want to go too deep into religion, but I do believe that we all have God living inside of us, that we are a representation of the God that created us. And when you say I am is literally praying to that God and manifesting whatever you follow that statement up with. So if you say I am, and I like to use the phrase better than average, that means that whatever I do from this point on is going to make that statement true, or work towards making that statement true. But if I say I am just surviving, or I'm poor, or I'm bad, or any negative connotation that you put on behind it, it's going to make that true. So you have to literally speak the good and the future into your statements of I am. Is a story in the Bible that says when Moses asked God who was he to say that sent him, when God sent Moses to tell the Pharaohs, the Egyptians, to let the Jewish people go, God said to him, tell him I am that I am sent you. So again, the backing up the principle that God lives inside you. And when you say I am, this is a prayer that speaks directly to that God. The words I am create or destroy your success before you even start. If you view yourself as a failure and say I am a failure, there's nothing that you're going to do in order to prove yourself wrong, because you already have believed it. If you say that I am unable to do this, then you're not even going to try really to do whatever it is that you've set yourself out to do. The words I am form a lens through which one sees their place in the world and sets a scale on which one measures their self-worth. Again, this is going back to, if you say I am valuable, I am worthy, I am important, I am better than average, then you are setting the scale and you're setting the scene for how you show up on the stage. Action always follows identity. If a person defines themselves as a loser or a victim, they will act accordingly and never do the things that are required to win or be anything other than the victim. In order to be successful and achieve anything significant, it's imperative that you deliberately and specifically define who you are to yourself. The second thing that your young man of color must know in order to be successful is that he is loved. And I underline this with the time that you spend with someone is not the same as the attention that you devote to the people who matter to you. One of the things that you'll find as I go through the rest of these slides and the rest of this presentation, I was going to follow up each point with an affirmation. And this is the first, is it says the time that I spend with someone is not the same as the attention I devote to the people who matter to me. I put away distractions and focus on building the better than average relationships. That is showing what love is. What does this bullet point mean? Make no mistake about it, love is attention. Love is giving, putting your phone down, putting your tablet down, not staying on your computer when you're spending time with somebody. That is love, is paying attention, is listening to that person actively, looking them in their eyes, showing them that they matter and that they care. You must pay attention to your child while they're young in order to know how valuable and worthy they are of being loved. Because many of these kids are growing up not understanding that they deserve love, that they is something that they do not have to earn, is something that innately is belongs to them, is the love of others. It also means when you teach them that they are loved, it also means preparing, equipping them for guiding them to success by disciplining them and teaching them how to thrive. So it's not being permissive, it's not spoiling them, it's showing them the guidance and giving them the structure and sometimes discipline that they need and understand right from wrong, good from bad, that there are consequences to their actions. Um, the Bible again says, spare the rod, spoil the child. That may not literally mean physical force, but it means to teach consequences so that they know their actions will know that they can't just do whatever it is they want without any repercussions. Modeling what love looks like to your young black or brown male, you teach them how to love others properly so that the relationships that they have with others are healthy and positive. They'll understand that love is more than sex and is always without conditions. There is no conditions about real, honest, goodness love. The affirmation that again, like I said, I'm going to finish up each one of these bullet points from this point on with an affirmation that will either empower you or empower the young man of color in your life who you're working with. This particular one is for you, the caretaker, the parent, the teacher, the community leader, the clergy person who is working with these young people. And it goes something like, I am better than average because I'm conscious of the fact that the time I spend with is not the same as the attention I devote to the people who matter to me. I put away distractions and focus on building better than average relationships. Number 3 is that he's capable. I'm going to pause for just a second. What's up, Chief? Nope. He's probably at the school now. Or he's on his way to the school.
He's on his way to the school?
He should be. Yeah. All right, excuse me, just had a brief interruption here. I want to continue on. So the third thing that your young man of color needs to know is that he's capable. Young black men must know and believe that they're capable of achieving great things in order to even attempt to do so. It's pretty self-evident what that means, but I want to go into a little more detail with it. So too often the bar of expectation is set too low for our young men of color. And in order to be at a place where they can move from survival to thriving, they have to understand that they are capable of even doing so. They have to understand that it's within their power and it's within their rights to want more than what was given to them. If they're in a place in life where they're unhappy, then they have to understand that they can change. Not only can they change their situation, but that it's their right to, and that they is their obligation to change it, and through a positive means, of course. But that's something that they must know. Often, it's a fact that they will either live up to or live down to their own expectations. They're going to live up to or live down to their own expectations. And that means, again, this goes back to kind of understanding the I am principle. So if they feel like they're failures, then they're not going to do anything. They're only expect to fail, and they're not going to do anything to ensure that they do succeed. If they expect to lose, that if he expects to lose, he will. But if and he expects to be average, he will be average. If he expects to feel bad, he probably will. But if he expects to be great, nothing is going to stop him stopping. Nothing's going to stop him from working to be great and to meet his own expectations. Now, they must know and understand and believe that with every fiber of their being, they can be, do, and have anything which they are willing to commit themselves to entirely, and not to give in to doubt, naysayers, or temptation. Now, this goes back to a little bit of my story when I was saying, growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, the naysayers and the doubters and uh, the people, society in general, had expectations of me and people who looked like me as young black men that we were going to be thugs, gangsters, drug dealers, and illegitimate fathers. And we believed it. We believed it, and that's what I won't say we committed to, but we didn't commit to being anything else. So when I began to understand that I can be, do, and have anything that I committed myself to, it became more of a purpose for my life. And there were still doubters and naysayers, but it was the belief in my heart that if I committed to it, that nothing was going to stop me. The affirmation that goes hand in hand with this is more directed towards the young men who you'll be working with. I am better than average because I have developed a mindset that sincerely believes I deserve whatever success I have set my sights on. I know that my birthright and my destiny is greatness. From the moment I was born, I was given the power to create a new preferred circumstance and status to replace any old condition. I have the right and power to bring forth something new and better for myself. Number 4 is how to properly set and achieve a goal. Now, this is one of my favorite ones because, quite honestly, goal setting is, and understanding the power of goal setting and planning to achieve a goal is what changed my life and turned my life around. Like I said, I read a lot of books while I was in prison, and each and every one of them, starting with Think and Grow Rich, the very first thing that you need to do in order to be successful is to have some type of purpose, some type of goal, overarching goal that drives your life. The knowledge of power of goals and how to properly set a goal is tantamount to the secret of success. So what does this mean? The ability to properly set a goal, and the confidence of knowing how to achieve it is the ability to generate hope on demand. I remember I spoke earlier about that paradigm of hopelessness. That paradigm of hopelessness leads to recklessness. When you have a goal, when you know what your purpose is in life, and it's a self-generated purpose, you are able to generate hope on demand, because when you have something that you're working towards, and complement that with the confidence of knowing that you have the skill set and the network of people to help you achieve that goal and honor that purpose. You are able to generate hope on demand no matter what the circumstances are, no matter how big the obstacles are, no matter how difficult it may be. You're able to have a little bit of hope, or a lot of hope, in order to move forward. Is knowing how to set and achieve a goal is not only a roadmap to success, but it defines a purpose and is the source of unlimited happiness. The affirmation that goes hand in hand with this is, I am better than average because I view my pursuit of success as I do breathing. I do not hesitate to take my next breath, as it is necessary to continue to live. Likewise, I do not procrastinate in taking the initiative towards doing whatever steps are necessary for my goal to be achieved. If I pause, my dreams, my goals, and ambitions expire. Creating a better than average life is my purpose. Living a better than average life is my destiny, because I choose to focus on my opportunity and potential rather than just the limitation and impossibility. I know that's a handful, but please understand that you have to, your young men have to understand that having a goal is like having your body's innate goal of breathing, of taking the next breath. You cannot stop, or you will fail. You will die. He who was out with the what the Bible say, he without vision perish, or something to that effect. Number 5, how to communicate. One of the most crucial elements to a young man of color success, I say young black male success, but a young man of color success, is the ability to effectively communicate. Quite simply, and I won't go too far into this, but quite simply, being able to listen to understand and speak to be understood is the core of effective communication. Listening to understand and speaking to be understood. Understanding the body language and other nonverbal forms of communication are just as important as what you say and how you say it. So, unfortunately, one of the misconceptions or prejudices against young men of color is that we always have attitude, especially the saying the angry young black man. It's because of posture and whatnot. Now, I'm not saying it's not within your right to stand however you want, or even to be angry. You can be angry all day long. However, if you're looking to succeed and get ahead in this world, in this life, there are certain things that you have to be hyper aware of, the self-awareness of how you are presenting your body and the message that it's communicating. Is very important, life-saving even, that you understand this when you're dealing with law enforcement, people who are authorized to take your life. They must understand that how they present themselves, these are the young men I'm speaking of, they must understand is how they present themselves really has an impact on whether or not they live or die. They need to grasp and use the power and the value of silence. Sometimes it is crucially important just to shut up. Shut up. Don't say anything. It's your right to say something, yes, but you don't always have to. And sometimes it's not for your benefit to say anything. Understand the power of silence. Lastly, and not to be forgotten, the ability to read and write for comprehension will open countless of doors and lead to unlimited opportunities. The most obvious example of this is a resume. Understanding how to put a resume together is a critically important skill in today's economic economic world. You have to know how to present your skills on a piece of paper or on a computer for someone to even consider hiring you. It's not the days anymore where you can walk in and just ask for an application. The other part of this is when I was in prison, one of my little side hustles was working in the law library. There were literally dozens of people who were trying to submit paperwork into the courts to have their cases reconsidered, or to have an appeal, or literally write letters home to their loved ones, and they couldn't do it. They were functionally illiterate. So I can't stress enough the importance to have the ability to read and write for comprehension. The affirmation that goes hand in hand with this is, I am better than average because I speak to be understood and I listen to understand. I ask questions for clarification, and I make no assumptions of what isn't said, nor attempt to interpret what is said to better suit my narrative, my biased narrative. I will break this down for just a second. There are times when we intentionally misunderstand people because what they are saying doesn't suit what we want. That is not effective communication, and it doesn't benefit anyone. I actively listen to hear, process, and comprehend what is being said rather than listening only to respond. I think twice about what I'm about to say before I say it to ensure that it is necessary, truthful, accurate, and unambiguous. Speak to be understood. Speak so that people cannot question what you said. Speak so that when you say what you say, that people understand that there's value in it because they know that it is necessary, truthful, accurate, and unambiguous. Effective communication is a critical foundation upon which better than average relationships are built. Number 6, this is probably one of the most important ones. Your young man of color must understand that mistakes and failures are okay. Quitting is not. Mistakes are simply proof of effort. Failures are opportunities to learn, and success comes from changing your perception of failures into lessons which make you wiser and therefore more valuable. I usually start off this lecture or these workshops with telling people I am an expert at failing. I took a 1-year probation deferred judgment and turned it into essentially a 9 or 10 year criminal justice term. Ended up, I could have been done with probation, it would have been off my record in 1 year. Instead, it turned into 1 year probation, 2 years probation, 2 years intensive supervised probation, 6 months halfway house, 2 years in prison, and then another 2 years on parole. I know how to fail expertly. There's so many things I have failed at. If the failures were dollars, I'd be a millionaire, and I'm okay with that because every time I have failed, I've been able to. Well, I won't say every time, but I've gotten to a point now in my maturity where now I see every time I fail at something, it means I know how to do something differently. I know what doesn't work. I'm getting to a point where every time I fail, it's just moving me a little bit closer to success. And it's okay. Like even this broadcast right now, this is something I know it's not perfect, but it's well, you should see me 6 months ago when I first tried to do something like this. So understand that every time you learn something from your failures, you're making yourself a little wiser, and when you become wiser, you become more valuable. When things go wrong, you can only become a failure when you don't take the time to examine what you could have done differently and re-examine your strategy, or if you give up. If you give up and it's something that you really want, then yes, that right there constitutes you being a failure. The affirmation that goes right along with it says, I am better than the average because I self-evaluate, not self-criticize. I know it's critically important that I forgive myself for both the past and future shortcomings. I remember that failing is part of the process. That's it. Getting from point A to point B of living and creating a better than average life, there's going to be a lot of failure in that process. And that's okay because I self-evaluate and not self-criticize. I find confidence in the fact that the failures are mile markers on the road to success as long as I learn from them. Number 7, birds of a feather flock together. And this is just a sad reality that your young man of color, his existence is that he will always be guilty by association, whether it's literally with the people he's hanging out with, or if it's figuratively because he is associated with a race of people that have been misaligned and prejudged from the time that they set foot on this continent. And there's nothing that he can do to break that implicit bias except for be the best person that he can be and be a unique individual and a shining example of what it means to be whoever he is. Even the most well-meaning person will negatively prejudge most young black and brown men with the implicit biases they hold both consciously and subconsciously. It's important that he purposely surrounds himself with people who will inspire, encourage, advise, and assist him to be the best person he could potentially be. This is what Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich called the mastermind. I have identified those 4 things that anyone needs to have a positive relationship with another human being. The people that you surround yourself with must be able to inspire you, not only be able to, but must inspire you. Not have the potential to inspire you, but be through the things that they're doing and the way that they live in their life. They must inspire you, encourage you, advise you, and assist you. And lastly, let me add in there, hold you accountable to doing the things that are required in order to be the person that you potentially can be. I think it was Jim Rohn who said it. Maybe it was Zig Ziglar. I'm not sure. But there's a saying that you are the sum of the 5 people closest to you. Now, you want to make sure that the people who you surround yourself with and you hold close to you are worth something, that they're valuable. And this is not just monetarily, but it includes monetarily. You don't want to be around a bunch of broke people, because if you're around 5 broke people, you will be the 6th. But if you start hanging around 5 millionaires, there are things that's going to happen that will make you step up your game, inspire you, encourage you, advise you, and hold you accountable to getting your hands on $1 million. The affirmation that goes along with this is, I am better than average because I insist on creating an environment in which people thrive, even and especially if that means removing people close to me who are toxic. I have chosen a flock which inspires me, encourages me, advises me, and holds me accountable to doing what is required to achieve my goals. I welcome, accept, and appreciate their criticism because I can learn valuable insights into myself and how I to better obtain the success I desire by listening to the objective critiques of my key advisors. Every successful business has a board of directors. This is what this affirmation is saying. And this point in general, as birds of a feather flock together, is you need to have yourself a board of directors. Look at yourself as a corporation that's looking to be in the Fortune 500. You need to have a board of directors that is going to guide you literally step by step to the top. Number 8, he needs to understand that you are the leader he needs. You believe in, inspire, encourage, advise, and hold him accountable to being the best he can be. So this is part 2 of what we were just saying. Hold on just 1 minute, everybody. Open door. This is Jonathan. Yes. Hey, Tony, how are you? Oh, great. Recording a podcast or a webinar. Yeah, I had some downtime. Well, I had a meeting and it got canceled, and so I had some downtime. So I came down. I'm usually down here every day after I get up for work. Mhm. No, when I came in, there was a bunch of paperwork sitting here on the desk. Yep, I have not. Let's do it. I'm looking forward to it because you called me last week and I don't remember what I was doing, but I was like, I'll call her when I get home, and then it was late, and I was like, well, and then I think you went out of town. Did you? Okay, yeah. All right, so okay, cool. All right, thank you. Bye. All right, going back to what we were saying. I think it was you are the leader that he needs. So this goes right back to point number 7. Um, in order to the birds of a feather flock together. So I said that you needed to have people around you that are going to inspire, encourage you, advise you, and hold you accountable. This goes to you directly, the parents, the community leaders, the teachers, the people who are working hand in hand with these young men of color. Those you need to step into that role. It's critical that your young black man must have at least one trusted adult who is prepared to find and or create and then offer resources to help these young humans succeed regardless of the societal issues, injustices, burdens, and hindrances. So you already know that society is going to come at them sometimes literally with both barrels. Okay. Uh, all the negativity, all the implicit biases, all the low expectations that they're going to be facing. It's important, critically important, that they have at least one trusted adult who says, I will inspire you, I will encourage you, I will advise you, and I'm going to hold you accountable. We already know what the problems are that these boys and young men will face. And it was required to coach these children to do the best they can to fully realize their potential and start recognizing them and praising their accomplishments and encouraging them to accomplish even more. It's our job to help them identify the obstacles that they face, but only identify them with the intention of developing the skills to overcome them. It's our duty to help them develop those skills and habits to properly overcome those obstacles. And it's our obligation to be and also connect our young people to mentors who will inspire, encourage, advise, and mold them to be champions. The the affirmation that goes hand in hand with this, just one second. I am better than the average leader others want and appreciate because I give encouragement on a daily basis. By recognizing that someone in my life does something that involves some level of achievement, no matter how large or small, not only in my life, but theirs as well, will become far richer and more fulfilling if you can learn to give what is required, including genuine praise and encouragement. Also, that goes along with inspiration and advice. Number 9, how to be coachable. Critical feedback is the breakfast of champions. Defensiveness is the dinner of losers. Dharmesh Shah. I don't know how many times I've dealt with a young man who I tried to give just a little bit of advice or guidance, and they act like they know it all. They act like, well, honestly, and I'll be very, very transparent. That used to be me. I used to not think that anyone could tell me anything. And so I shook off a lot of bad advice and made a lot of missteps because when someone was pulling my coattail, I was not willing to submit to the fact that I was not as wise as I thought I was. There's a popular saying that uncoachable youth becomes an unemployable adult. Just mull over that for a second. The uncoachable youth becomes an unemployable adult. And not even unemployable as in working for somebody else, but if you are not able to take advice, if you're not able to take some type of coaching, you're not going to ever be in a position to even run your own business because there are just relationships that you must foster and build where you are listening to someone else. In society obsessed with not being hated on, many young people can't handle and flat out reject constructive criticism. Strong leaders seek out other leaders to teach them how to become better leaders. That's the key lesson that you need to teach these young people if they want to be leaders. Well, not even if they want to be leaders, but as you're molding them to become leaders, let them know that leaders seek out other leaders to become better leaders. They seek out constructive criticism and embrace feedback, because feedback is wisdom, feedback is knowledge. And again, knowledge and wisdom only make you more valuable. The people who are most successful in life are the ones who read and apply the lessons of great life coaches and motivational speakers. I spend at least an hour a day reading or listening to some type of motivational speaker, life coach, personal development trainer, or in a book somehow, understanding how I can become a better leader, how I can become more successful. Because again, the more that I learn, the more valuable I become. The affirmation that goes along with it says, I am better than average because I know not every critic is a hater and not every criticism is malicious. I surround myself with people who believe in me and only want me to do more for me. My flock inspires, motivates, encourages me, and holds me accountable to doing what I was required to achieve my goals. So again, it's a lot of these principles repeat themselves. They build upon one another, but the ultimately is about setting goals, is about having a mindset that understands you can achieve those goals, and about having the flock of people around you that help you achieve those goals. Now we're going to, oh, I'm sorry, there's one more. I welcome and accept and appreciate criticism because I can learn valuable insights into myself and how to better obtain the success I desire by listening to the objective critiques of my key advisors. I believe that was also on the last slide, the last affirmation slide as well. Now, we're going to go into what I think is probably the most important point of the whole presentation. Life is not fair, period. It just isn't. What does this mean? There's a popular saying that oh, no. Oh, my slides were messed up. I apologize. Let me go back here just a little bit. Life is not fair. And basically, what I'll go into with this is, and I apologize, I don't have a slide breaking this down. But when I was a kid, my father and my grandfather told me that in order to be successful, well, no, in order to be recognized as successful by anybody white, I would have to be twice as good as them. I would have to work twice as hard and be twice as good. In order to be seen as better than somebody white, I would have to work 4 times as hard. I would have to achieve 4 times as much in order to be seen as successful as somebody white. And I thought this was incredibly unfair. And I fought against it. I tried to prove them wrong by just performing at a mediocre level. And then I began to witness what greatness was, especially when it came to black athletes, the ones like Michael Jordan, and musicians like Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson, and astronauts, and just all kinds of people who achieved a level of greatness. There was no denying that because they had to fight up to and through and over the barrier of they can't because they're black, they were recognized as being so much better. In my city alone, in the city of Denver, we've seen 2 black mayors. I remember a few years ago there was a Super Bowl with 2 black quarterbacks, and I'm old enough to remember when they said that blacks weren't intelligent enough to play the quarterback position. Uh, any and every time that someone has rose to the challenge of going the extra mile because they were capable of doing it, they were better for it. And the rewards came innately because they were putting in that much more work. Yes, life is not fair. You should not have to work harder in order to get equal of somebody else. However, if you're capable of doing it, so what? There is no punishment in working harder and getting more for the more reward for your work. That's not a punishment. And they have to understand that in order to thrive in this world, not just survive, not just get by, but in order to thrive, yes, you will have to accept the fact that life is not fair. Get over it and get on with it. So what? Now what? Um, I wish I had some more of my bullet points here, but understand that this affirmation here really sums it up. I am better than average because I hold myself to a higher standard than anyone expects of me. I never excuse myself. I lead by example. I shine my light for the world to see by consistently doing the best I can with what I have in the present moment. This is my standard of behavior, not to draw attention to myself, but to be a beacon of inspiration for those who may be lost in the darkness of average performance and mediocrity, to look towards me for hope and guidance. This is what it means to thrive. This is what it means to be better than average. Now, I'm going to wrap this up with just a little plug. Very soon, I will be launching the Be Better Than Average Academy online. We're going to have more lectures like this. I'm going to go some deep dives into goal setting, personal development techniques. There will be some courses that you can enroll in, understanding how to build a better than average mindset, how to utilize that mindset. There will be courses on building better than average relationships, both professionally and in personal relationships, setting and achieving better than average goals. I'm currently connecting with some people who can have who are going to teach courses on getting your finances better than average, getting financially healthy, getting physically healthy, getting emotionally and spiritually healthy. So these are all classes that are coming very soon to the Be Better Than Average Academy. In the meantime, you could go to www.jonathanmcmillan.com, learn more about me, learn more about the curriculum, check into my blog, subscribe, and understand that this is where we're going. This is the new age of being better than average, and understanding that it is possible. I'm going to wrap this up here. I want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate you tuning in. I may go back in here and edit this and get some of the missteps out, but again, I may leave them in there just to show that failure is not fatal. So you can make mistakes as long as you don't give up. In the meantime, please feel free to hit me up, JonathanMcMillan.com, Facebook.com/ Be Better Than Average without the E. Twitter @BTA_Jonathan. Let's see, Google Plus. I think you just do Jonathan McMillan, or you can email me directly at jonathanm@bebta.org. I hope you appreciated this, enjoyed this as much as I enjoy giving it to you. I will talk to you next time.